Well, to be honest, it was never something that was on my radar. I never ever thought I would be someone to do the challenge. Funnily enough, it came up through work. So I work for the foundation of Vodafone, it's like charity arm. And my boss was like, oh, why don't we get some Vodafone employees to take on the Atlantic Row? It'll be the biggest fundraiser we'll ever do. And I was like, that sounds a bit mad, but okay, I'll look into it. And it was just a case of saying yes, and then there I was. So it was over a year of training, sort of 6 days a week in the gym, and then on weekends, whenever we could and whenever the weather allowed, we went out on the boat down on the south coast, so Portland, sort of Weymouth way, and you had to get in sort of allocated hours, a sort of specified amount of hours on your boat to sort of enable you to do it. So it was a lot of training, a lot of preparation. So post-COVID, I was sort of looking for a new challenge. I was looking for also new sport to do. And I used to walk down the river in Hammersmith, London, and I see people rowing. And I thought, oh, I'll give that a go. So I did a learn to row course over sort of 6 weeks. And that was just sort of a separate sort of venture, I suppose, to the ocean rowing, but I suppose it got me exposed to the rowing world. But other than that, I'd never really done sailing or anything boaty. I'm not, I love the sea and I love the outdoors and I love being, swimming cold water, and I love sort of challenging myself, but I'm not very sporty. Nothing is impossible. Differing levels of challenge for everyone. Rowing the Atlantic is quite extreme, so I think that's not for everyone, and I think that's fair to say. But everyone has something that is just a little bit out their limit that they think maybe I could do, and I just think life is too short not to try, because you get so much reward from when you put yourself out of your comfort zone and when you do something that's a bit scary or you don't think you're capable of, or something that's new. I think we are, if you're up until, I hope I'm sort of 80, 90 years old, I want to try new things, because I think trying new things keeps you young, it keeps you sort of energized, and with the row, I hadn't got really any experience, but I said yes, and then you follow the process and you sort of lean into the experts, you lean into the advice of people who have done it before. It's a big part, it's sort of, leaning into the community of what you're sort of about to do, and people will boost you up to get you where you need to be. What we did was by no means a solo challenge, and it's not something that we did just the three of us as a team, it was something far greater than that. So my advice would just be to always just say yes, and once you say yes, everything kind of falls into place. I think similar in terms of with Malaysia and through Project Trust, there was a lot of preparation, isn't there, to get to that point where you head off. The fundraising and the training and all the process you have to go through, and the preparation can feel very daunting. And I remember at times I was sort of, oh gosh, don't know how I can fit this in with trying to do school exams and that kind of thing, but it reaped its reward in the end. But there was also a lot of sort of spontaneity and sort of working with the environment and sort of just fitting into their way of life that you couldn't really prepare for in some respects. But we did so much in the lead up to it to make sure you felt comfortable, that I think that definitely helps across all things in life, doesn't it? And I think it started that sense of adventure being in Malaysia, to be honest. And confidence. I remember getting so much confidence from Malaysia that you can sort of do anything, and that I think has sort of translated into where I am now. Just rode the Atlantic. I missed being dry. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we were always damp and wet out there. And I just remember that being one of those things that in the middle of the night, and you'd have to put on your wet shoes and your wet socks, and you'd go out and you'd just be splashed and left, right and centre by waves. And I couldn't wait to be home in a dry bed and dry clothes. And I remember that was a big thought. But you've got to just get used to your environment and just be happy with where you are. So we tried not to miss, I did obviously miss my family, of course, but we tried not to lean into that too much, because it's just otherwise you feel drained and sad. So there were sort of ration packed, dehydrated food. So some of them were actually quite nice. You know, I was having macaroni cheese, or, you know, vegetable chili, or lasagna. I think that was actually quite a good one. And you just rehydrate them with boiling water, and they're super high calorie. It's funny though, we tried all of them before we left, again, to try and be prepared and know that what we liked, but your taste buds change when you're out there. So like some of the stuff that was like very bland at home suddenly became really spicy, or just really salty. So it was a struggle. You have to eat, you know, 4,500 calories a day. I struggled with that big time. You're just having to force food down. Very nice. So never ruling out doing the Pacific, but I don't think that'll be anytime soon. I think I'm gonna try and get on my bike and maybe sort of cycle land end to John O'Groats. You know, the length of the UK would be quite cool. Get my bike legs again. Need to do something for sure. I've sort of got the bug now for the challenge and adventure.